Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time, in the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Up against the underdog in the blue, we have Team Liquid Mana. A best-of-3 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. You might expect this match to be more one-sided than a Mobius strip, but I think the implications of why you're watching it here today are pretty strong. Just like the implication of what I'll do if you don't smash that like button. Or subscribe. Be disappointed. Jimmy, what are we... What? 1,513 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. With the new balance patch, energy recharge, changes to the mothership, queenflation, so many changes, Serral has tried to adapt his style, which is the style, the stock standard of StarCraft 2. To pretty much every matchup. But Protoss players, for not the first time in the legacy of the sometimes void when it comes to championships, have had to retool, for the most part, at least some part of their build order. The energy recharge ability replacing shield battery overcharge leaves Protoss immensely vulnerable in certain ways, but strengthens them in others. And most of those other times are in the later game. For sure, whenever you're able to actually get energy units out in a meaningful way. But of course, slapping 100 energy into an Oracle, baby, this Oracle can fit so many revelations in it. So, we'll see. And speaking of starting things off, not going to be much of a revelation to see an Oracle in the production tab. King's Cove, the most massive map in the map pool, and it's really not that close. There's a lot of space to work with, which can be good and bad for a wide array of styles, but for the most part favors more defensive macro. The sheer amount of time it takes to get across the map, even for Zerglings with their vestigial wings and creep spread, is going to be quite difficult. And that means Mana taking a third base at 330, 340. A bit on the greedy side of things, but he's trusting that between energy recharge on the Oracle and, oh wow, a Robo right off the bat. High-tech play. Maybe just mech toss even. The majority of the time we see a Twilight Council to follow it up. Blink Stalkers +1. But the robotics facility is certainly another angle. Can translate into an early timing or just be the most defensive option. Occasionally we see Colossi, hard to miss, but for the most part it's used for the more either Immortals, Observers, Warp Prism. I just named the other 3 units. Oh yeah, the Disruptor still exists. Don't worry. Though I don't think I've seen a single player make disruptors against Zerg on this patch. Maybe once or twice. I mean, I heard Zhao is back as well, so be taking a look at that soon. But Serral with the Queens gathering, at least scattering throughout. That's a Warp Prism right off the bat. So Mana looking to power things up early. Oracle comes in and is asked politely yet firmly to leave as the knitting needles come out from the Queen. A Templar Archives is on the way. So I imagine Charge will be the choice. Charge Lot Archon. A tried and true method of catching players off guard in dramatic fashion. But he still doesn't even have Charge out of the way. Is he seriously just going? This is like... Can he get away with it, is the question. Because if he can, it looks like he's rushing Storm. He's gone... His unit count, this is... He has 1 Oracle, 1 Stalker, 1 Adept, and a Warp Prism. Now he's going to do an Archon drop. Serral back at home. What has he seen? He's seen the 3rd. He has not seen the Robo even. Not that that would give away too much, but the Warp Prism will be spotted. I think he has suspicions on what's inside. The creep spread, there's no Observer with this, so he can't clear creep easily. I guess the Oracle could help out as well. But here comes the Archon drop. The Queens, though, are already gathered to deal with it, and the Archons will have to come up individually. Seems like a dramatic way to take out the Overlord, but... Susan, those things are bigger than you, and look at how they juggle. What are you trying to... You're the same size! Brenda! I don't... Sorry, I blacked out. Warp Prism doing a pretty good job of at least keeping Serral busy. 64, 66 drones. Serral was trying to hedge his bets by building enough roaches to shut down. What if it's adepts? What if it's charge lots? What if it's a blink timing? You don't want to be caught off guard, but at the same time, if you have too little economy, you're not going to be in a position to deal with the follow-up. So, the Archon's trying to come down again. Observer is in position. Infestation pit on the way for Serral. +1 ranged attack and groovy spines, which now that I look at them in the production tab are like the inverse. A little lazy with that icon there, I will say. And Queen trying to take out the Observer. Overseer finally getting in, and we'll get a solid scout. The most important thing he will be scouting is a lack of fleet beacon, as the most dangerous and important tech to know about is the mothership nowadays, which has gone from a bit of a risk and a questionable decision to something significantly more dangerous. Without the ability to be yoinked across the map, it's now unyoinkable. It's a technical term. As well as having additional damage with those extra beams. On top of the fact that it's a little bit harder to put together the anti-air for Zerg. Makes the mothership a unit worthy of the respect that is implied by its cost and supply. But I digress, because there is no fleet beacon at all. There's a second robo on the way. Mass Immortal will be the choice. Anticipating lurkers as Mana sets up his fourth base, slaps down the cannons. Archon's on the way. Storm, of course, is completed. Oracle coming back around looking for more, but so far, we've had a lot of flirting, a lot of will they, won't they, and so far, won't they, with only one probe, 9 Zerglings, and an Overlord dying. I think something else. 10 Zerglings. 11. So, okay, I'm not going to count every Zerg. I'll go by the dozen. Hive Tech already done 8 minutes and 30 seconds as we speed directly into the late game. Nanomuscular. Neuromuscular? Nanomuscular. It's nanomuscular swell. Either way, Hydra Lunge on the way. As Serral is going for the 3rd Hydra upgrade, but Immortals and Archons, as well as Storm to ward away. Small group of Roach Hydra heading up towards the natural, but with energy recharge, you can warp in a Templar, drop that energy recharge, boom, 2 Storms. Ready to order. Everybody stop. Mana with a tactical pause. Of course, we're going to speed right through it. You can always pause the video and like and subscribe to simulate the whole feeling of it, but we get right back into it. And it appears both players took out the Prima strategy guide and decided to progress the tech tree right afterwards. Nidus Network, Spire, 6 Dropper Lords on the way, Adrenal Glands, and Lurker range for Serral. And, of course, for mana, the Fleet Beacon is lit as he looks to bring the Sky Toss down to at least a little closer to Earth. Oh, whatever planet we're on. Lowercase Earth. Storms, Lurkers split, battle groups on both sides, actually lunges through the Storms, is going to chase down several of these Immortals, certainly not living up to their name. Loses 2. The Nidus, good to see Serral. Serral has kind of been reluctant to embrace that mass Nidus style that players like Rogue and Dark have really relied upon. Though a tactical Nidus at the right time can be a deadly choice. Wades into the Storm but takes out a Templar. And the Overseer actually has full energy. Could use it for Contaminate on a key upgrade. Dropper Lord's loading up in a very inconvenient... Don't look over here. Alright, there's nothing happening over here. Don't worry about it. Almost certain the Dropper Lords weren't spotted. Yeah, Mana's not moving back towards the natural. He doesn't know about the Dropper Lords there. He just thought the army was coming in for a pincer. The mothership has begun. But now, oh, a preemptive setup. Mana with full tower defense Protoss. More cannons on the way. He's already got cannons. It's going to be hard to even drop the Lurkers here. The mothership is building at the natural. If he can't clear this up, his mothership may be severely delayed. Energy recharge. I don't know if he has it ready. It's off cooldown. He can drop it on one of these Templar. The Lurkers are coming through. Bringing in a couple more Hydras. More Storms. Lurkers getting cut down. The Immortals bashing through. The Dropper Lords themselves annihilated. Now an attack down the center. Ultralisk Cavern. Greater Spire is on the way, but Mana hitting on the other side as well. And there's almost nothing back at home for Serral to deal with this. He just built 29 Hydralisks, which seems like a bit of a Hydra risk at this stage of the game, with Archons breathing down your neck. Probably not physically in any form, but Storms on the ramp. Templar landing 2 of them. Not quite enough to kill off the lurkers, but certainly soften them up. Dashes away with some of the Hydras and more units moving across the map. He's going to clear up some of the Immortal Archon battle group, but Mana maintains a lot of initiative here, as Serral might be maxed out, but he doesn't have any money in the bank, and his unit composition is one that's relatively easy to deal with, especially when it's strung out like this. Meanwhile, the Hydras can't quite get close enough to the Prism to interrupt the next warp, and the Mothership has arrived! A cinematic arrival! There's only one Overseer with this army, and the storms are apocalyptic! Overseer with 1 HP, and in these storm winds, I don't think you should be sticking around. Mana clears the field for the most part, and with the active cloaking still active, he's able to move around and take out another hatchery. Serral kind of at a loss for how to deal with this. Over the last minute and a half, Serral has lost 9,500 minerals and 3,100 gas to only 5,521 of mana. Picks off a couple observers, but a big recall, including the Mothership, and Serral backs off with more than enough time to spare. But Serral, while he might have that late game tech, he no longer has the late game economy. He's looking at a Bugatti unit composition on, who do we want to call out here? Corolla budget. There we are. You guys like cars? Like and subscribe. I think there's a lot of carryover there. And, oh, looks like that engine stalled for Serral, as the Mothership on the other side of the trees, he didn't actually spot it, and Mana is zoning out with another battle group of Templar, Immortals, and Archons. These units are incredibly hard to deal with on the ground, even in small numbers. You need an overwhelming surround. Usually, this is accomplished with Lings and Banes closing in. Sure, it's not efficient, but it's certainly effective. But Mana has done a great job of zoning Serral off the field, and it feels like Serral never really had an opportunity to close in on any of the bases, and the one thing he attempted, the Dropper Lords, was shut down completely. There's still a full energy Overseer in the main. I believe there's still a Nidus network somewhere. He hasn't attempted a single Nidus, which, oh, another time warp, and he just bashes right through the front line, evaporates the Hydras, and this might re-inspire Serral to try the Nidus. And a Hydra Lurker counter. Recall is still on cooldown. Yes, for about 20 more seconds. Serral gonna try to hold the line with Lurkers back at home. Well, the Hydras rip through the Nexus, dash towards the center line. The drones have been abandoned. And now, we're going into a double base trade, which Mana has way more money in the bank. He can afford to lose his probes and rebuild them. He also has the gas, and Serral still doesn't have a unit composition to deal with the Mothership and her entourage. The Ultralisk Cavern. Serral literally just got the whole smorgasbord of Zerg tech and has yet to use most of it. The Ultralisk Cavern may be taken down. At this point, I think Mana should encourage Ultralisks, considering the unit composition he has. The Nidus network is spotted, might be taken out. Serral, that center Nexus, going down slowly but surely. But Mana is dismantling Serral right now, and there's just no answer. He stayed on Hydra Lurker for too long, and now the Tempests are on the field. The army supply in favor of Mana. The upgrades +3/+1 on the ground with +1 air weapons from Mana against +2 attack of both flavors and +1 carapace. An escape Nidus. So we got to be a little more inspirational than that. But there's still a... Did he contaminate anything? I don't believe so. Serral manages to chase down the Immortals, left out on their own. And they don't thrive in such a lonely environment. Serral, though, on the ropes. 140 to 170 supply, but Mana has played a beautiful game. This is textbook. We've rewritten the textbook, but Mana is certainly one of the leading authors. And Serral right now, who usually is leading, is the stock gold standard for Zerg, and how to deal with especially the more difficult late game unit compositions, right now is looking lost. And it might manifest itself in the most obvious way momentarily. As mana is coming across... That is... He's got 10 High Templar, a Mothership, 4 Tempests, 8 Observers. The Eyes of Protoss now. You need a parasitic bomb for that many Observers. I'll certainly see. Probably more Observers than are in the match watching it right now, which is hard to beat. The Lurkers staggered. This is going to be a bit of a tougher situation, but with the unyoinkability of the Mothership, yanks out 2 Tempests, but doesn't even quite kill them off before the Storms evaporate a few more Hydras. Tempest chewing through. No, he didn't kill that second Tempest. Serral. He's down 40 supply. His Nidus... It doesn't look like he got anything done. Multiple feedbacks on those Vipers, making sure, but they're able to get the abducts just in time. But Mana just has the army. Hydra counterattack. Serral hasn't really, because of both the size of the map and Mana's efficient control. In fact, Mana has had almost exactly the same APM. Not always the perfect indicator, but I feel like Mana has kept up with Serral's every attempt to do multi-pronged attacks. And he's done it better. He's defended and attacked simultaneously with better units and more quickly. Serral right now, I want to see a parasitic bomb on Observers, okay? Now, obviously there are better uses for the... He has 8... He still has 8 Observers. A line of 17 Lurkers. I think the vast majority of them on the screen. Or near this general area. Certainly a tough position to crack here. But Serral is just buying time. I don't know what the end game goal is. Mostly hoping Mana attacks in very cost effectively. The creep spread is almost non-existent. Mana with some random probes out here. I think it was angling for an expand. But the Tempest, of course, the Lurker's gonna have a tough time. The only thing Mana is missing, really, are the Oracles for Revelation. But with this many Observers, it's not as necessary. Hydra's dueling against Charge Lots, but the Charge Lots have 3-2-1 upgrades. Counting down to the death of the Hydras. And we got +3 air and armor in production, as well as +2 shields. And here comes Mana. Feedbacks on the Vipers. Storms across the front line. Observers giving vision, but there's no anti-air left. Everything evaporates. A cataclysmic engagement. And Mana takes a decisive victory against arguably the best, well, the best StarCraft 2 player of all time. And it's not just that he won the game. He won the game, and it wasn't close. For a few moments, Serral maybe could have brought it back, but it felt like we were racing against the clock of Mana putting together that endgame composition. And it almost feels like with this new patch that Zerg is now the one obligated to try to shut things down before the Protoss gets to the composition. It's always been difficult to deal with Skytoss, but I think more pronounced than usual. So I'm interested to see what Serral decides to do on our other maps. Well, Mana has always been... Now, and make sure to check out his YouTube channel, by the way. I'm always a little... I'll be honest. I'll be a little intimidated by people who are much better than me at the game and commentating it while playing in their second language. Both these players do that. Mana probably more regular than Serral, but overall. And you know what? Jimmy, put a link! Yeah. And to the LiuLiu Cup, which this is from. Yeah. I don't... So hopefully we got that in the description, but... I feel like Serral decided we were going to late game and built everything. But he underestimated the strength of Mana's composition. Still adjusting to the Immortal Archon Templar sort of setup. Also, that's the first time I've seen someone really use the Archon drop like that. Skipping the Blinkstalker phase into Archon drop. So now he already has the late game. The beauty of it is he has the late game tech already. The weakness is early all-ins. You may just die trying to go for like 3 levels of tech before really getting any units. But now he already has the Templar Archives and the Robotics Facility. 2 things you don't always even get in the first like 8 minutes if you're going for a Blinkstalker timer. Just compare this with the match against Hero that Serral played, I believe, on the same day. And you can go check that out afterwards if you haven't yet. But Hero, by the way, doing very heavy Blinkstalker aggression against Serral, who was matching it with Lair Tech. So Mana coming out with the just not really a Sky Toss Rush, but a full tech tree, a bamboo shoot of tech. And Serral still, well, it's weird. I will say, I'm grasping for words like Serral was grasping for strategies to deal with it. Because that's not how it's supposed to go. The Zerglings will hunt down the probe. Not that it took much hunting, it was right there, waiting to see how many Zerglings come out and whether or not Serral's going to take a third. Kind of its lot in life. We'll see if it maintains that life. Stargate is on the way. Wonder if he switches it up at all. Now, a lot of Protoss, for better or worse, and it's hard to tell. Like, if it works, you look like a genius. And if it doesn't work, whatever the opposite of that is. A lot of Protoss will severely switch up their style after... It doesn't really matter if they won or not, just in order to keep the Zerg guessing. The conventional logic is you got to take them by surprise and use that advantage. I don't necessarily think that logic still applies in this current patch, especially with what we saw in the last game. There are certainly timings that Serral could hit, especially here on a map that's a lot more condensed. But I don't think you need to go crazy and do like a big Adept Shade all-in or something just to mix it up and try to catch them off guard. It's almost predictable in how unpredictable a lot of Protoss try to be. I think the only Protoss who can pull that off on a regular basis is Hero. And like a third of the time, he doesn't pull it off at all. He looks like a total noob. But 2/3 of the time is still usually enough to get him quite far. And that's why he's arguably the rank 1 Protoss in the world. Especially one who shows up at major LAN tournaments, obviously, so... We have a Robo and a Twilight. The Robo first again. So it looks like Mana's going to give us another show here. Which, double feature. Oracle gliding by. Does he slap down? He's already got the probe in position. Designated builder. Let's see if he has a hotkey for it. Is that it? Yes. I love that. I think that's something you could copy. Designated builder probe. Okay? No more problems, only solutions. They call it the No Cap Company. With cap, of course, standing for constructing additional pylons, which you don't need to do when you invest in No Cap. Jimmy, edit that out. It was bad. Sorry. Stasis blocks the 4th base and the drone on location, so he can't even sidestep it. A moderate annoyance. And here we go again. Mana, again, showing the same build. We'll see if Serral adapts, as Zergs have a tendency to do. The Zerglings counterattack. There's a shield battery. But the surface area is pretty good for the Zerglings. They may be able to kill it. The Oracle is nowhere nearby, so the small counterattack could undercut a lot. He's going to force the Oracle back. The Archons are brawling it out. He's actually warping in some Zealots. Archon gets slurped back up into the prism. The Zealots wondering why they exist at all. That was a bit optimistic. He didn't have charge. He just started it. Oh, my. A bit awkward, but, you know, I think they're going to get away with it. So, Serral with a Spire on the way. Mutas? That's certainly one way. So, when you don't go Blink Stalker and you're reliant, his Stargate unit count is this one Oracle. He doesn't have a sentry. He has no easy way of scouting. So I think this is Serral's kind of turnaround and saying, well, you weren't ready for this, so I can take back the initiative. Even if the Mutas don't do a lot of damage, they're going to dictate the pace of the game. So, and there is no indication from Mana at all that he suspects this. Serral is nothing if not predictable. Well, that might not be fair, but you know what? Hyperbole. That Serral is literally sitting there in the main base, again, with an Overseer, watching the Stargate, and the whole main base in general. But Serral will have about 7 Mutas to start things off. I don't know if the Overlords are there intentionally to block it. I seriously doubt it. Also, very interesting position for the Spire. Right out in the midst of everything. But if he loses that location, he's probably dead anyway. So, there are 8 Mutas on the way. And once again, Mana is building up into the Immortal Archon Templar composition. Which, a very strong one indeed. But not so great at chasing down the Mutalisk. Archons! God. Picks him up in time. Serral at 80 drones now. He's got an infestation bit of Hydra Den behind. He's clearly angling to get lurkers after this. Just the decisive Muta timing. And he gets into the main. There's no blink, but he's got cannons. So, either he caught a glimpse of, he may have caught a glimpse with the stasis. They may have flown over the stasis. I think they did. Or one of the kind of random things out there, so. Actually, the Muta's getting very little damage done, but Mana did stay kind of tucked into his base, and is not denying any of Serral's expansions. So Hive is halfway done. Lurker Den as well. They take the same amount of time, technically. So the Mutas might not be a resounding success, but they have dictated the pace of the game for at least a little while now. And Mana all bottled up in his base. Stasis. Serral pulls back at the last second. Thinking about a full-on assault, but instead, mostly, I think, trying to keep Mana as busy as possible. Multiple spying crawlers, the backbone of the defense at that northern side. And of course, now that we go to the later game, the fleet beacon is lit. Though no additional Stargates yet, so likely just for a mothership right off the bat. Muta's still looking for an opportunity. Serral leaning into the lurkers. There are 6 Immortals on the field, as well as 5 High Templar, which is quite a healthy number for the Protoss, obviously. Phoenix, actually, Muta's able to take it out. A very mild annoyance, these Mutas, but and the 2 shield batteries should actually be enough. And actually, Meta coming across the map. He's got another battle group to the left side. Serral with a counterattack as well. So we go directly into a 3-pronged assault. Serral with a counter on the 4th. And man, the mass spine crawler. Not enough. If he wanted to do a dedicated attack, he could easily bust through that. But static defense is not about defending on its own. It's about buying time for your more capable forces to come and reinforce. And now, Mana denied his 4th base, losing his Templar, multiple storms on the Roaches, and softens them up dramatically, but not enough to stop them. And now he's losing probes. 13 probes dead. The problem is only escalating. Serral making his Spire great again as well. A bit of an awkward situation. Mana, he's working towards the same composition, but he doesn't have nearly the runway that he... Well, he's taking it very... He's got lurker spines, he's got spine crawlers, and he's got quite a backbone in this defense. So, Serral taking the potential counterattacks incredibly seriously. And now that he has 5 bases to 3, all he needs to do is win a decisive fight. Which, I say all he needs to do, but that's kind of a difficult thing to accomplish against almost any composition involving Storm. But Serral now has money in the bank. Mana isn't even maxed out. He's double expanding. I think he had the money left over, but he was forced to cancel multiple bases. The lurkers will show up uninvited, but who would invite the Zerg? And more lurkers running the Zealots and the Archon right over them. The lurkers just gut the base. Mana was so greedy with the 6 o'clock base, Serral didn't even scout for it, because who would be taking that one? Hydra Lunge is done. The Tempest shelling. Mana decides this is his best opportunity to move forward. And he has the Templar. His army supply is relatively comparable. His upgrades are decent. His unit composition is quite good. So, might be able to take out one of these hatcheries. Storms coating the lurkers. Corruptors, of course, on the field, as that Spire's been done for quite a while. There's a few units at the natural. The lurkers slicing through. Cybercore dead. Robotics facility as well. There's still one more robo at the back, but there's no detection. He doesn't have the fleet of observers like before. The Corruptors catching the Tempests. Takes a surprising amount of hits to take him down, but they eventually do so. Serral still maintaining a maxed out supply. The spines. Revelation eventually chews through the lurkers. The giraffe migration. Trying to snipe off some of these Tempests. Storms, wading through it. Corruptors on the run for now. Army supply still dangerous. Serral has to be somewhat careful. He doesn't have that much gas in the bank. Plenty of minerals, and he's sinking them into Zerglings for the most part. The lurkers again at the 6 o'clock. Though that outlying base has still been unscouted. Though nothing mining there at the moment. 3 Void Rays in production. Mana, not too many Templar with this. Stasis not quite triggered. Almost loses the Oracle, working his way through the creep. The lurkers continue to move forward, mostly uncontested. The Corruptors on top of everything, but eating a max damage Storm. Starting to slice through the probes at the 3rd base. And Serral, he's taking damage at home, but if he can deny mana pretty much all of his economy, eventually he could throw enough Zerg at this to whittle it down. Are there any Vipers? No Vipers. The Corruptor count continues to grow. The Corruptors do bonus damage to massive units. That's going to include the Mothership Carrier, your Mother Tempest. Multiple observers here out in front spotting for the lurkers. The Storms, Autumn Colors. If he can take down all the detection, then the lurkers have free reign, though. Oh, he doesn't have any more Overseers. Making 3 more. Mana still holding. But his income is almost non-existent. He's down to, like, whatever he has left on the natural. That southern base was found by the Zerglings and will be taken down. I don't think he mined a single mineral off it. 3 more Void Rays on the way, but Mana is in a holding pattern while Serral continues to expand and claw away at the economy. The Templar! 4 Templar with enough energy for Storm. And it's starting to fall apart. Mana still. He actually has more army supply by 1. But Serral building some more lurkers. He's putting the spores out in front. Another little Sporchard there. The Void Rays can help take down the Tempests. I mean, well, technically they could, but... The Corruptors, rather. There's only 1 Observer. There's almost no detection. The Lurkers are slicing through. The Observer is taken down, and the Lurkers are unchallenged. The Corruptors working on the Tempest. The Archons are almost all taken down. The Queen's getting involved. And Serral's finally able to collapse and kill the army. Still, though, a remarkably difficult... until Mana had literally no bases mining. He was still dangerous. So Serral's still struggling to figure out that composition. Whittling down the economy and forcing them into an engagement after they can no longer replace their army seems to be the methodology, which is not easily said and is even less easily done. But now the Whispers of Gold will decide it. Didn't expect, I'll be honest, I didn't expect to be going to a Game 3 with Serral versus Mana. So a significant credit to Mana for bringing us this far. But this is going to be a difficult map to get to that sort of composition. Probably the shortest rush distance and the easiest way to assault outlying bases. Definitely vulnerable to lurkers here. Another key point, we never saw... I don't believe we ever saw the Mothership in that previous game. The Mothership is quite a hefty target, can tank a lot of damage. That's how we're saying it nowadays. As well as Time Warp being an incredibly effective tool, reducing the movement speed and attack speed of units. So you land that on the Corruptors and or Lurkers, and we saw how effective that was in Game 1. The storms breaking through the lines, making it that much harder to evade them. We'll see. If there was a time to mix it up. The Mutas, I think, served their purpose. They weren't, They weren't the game changer I think Serral was hoping for. I'm pretty sure a stasis ward or something spotted him, and Mana clearly had preparation. But the time it took to put up those cannons, the fact he sat back in his base for a couple minutes while doing so, gave Serral the space to get that late game army. So, they serve their purpose, if only their... Unfortunately, their purpose is fly around and look scary for a little while and then die. But, you know... there are worse things. I'm sure I can come up with some if you push came to shove. But for now, moving on. Hiding that probe. Will Serral look for it? I don't think he's intending to block the third base, but instead make sure he gets a good scout on it. Stargate, then the warp gate, just getting it that little bit quicker. The probe, in position. Wow, he can actually block for a moment or two. Don't do it. Thinking about a pylon block at the hatchery. Oh, almost takes down the probe. Oracle's on the way. Stalker as well. Interesting that many players going for Stalker, instead of getting multiple Oracles, instead of getting like the 2 Adept harass, 1 Adept, of course. Gotta get the Scout. Serral dodges both with Spore Crawlers. The Overlord on the Pervert Pillar. He knows its time is limited. Once the Oracle comes out, third Nexus already on the way. 340. Yeah. Well before Warp Gate's even done. In fact, he's getting a third Nexus before getting a second gate in the wall. In fact, you know what? There's a lot of facts I'm dropping right now. But in fact, he's getting a Robo in the wall. And I believe he's done that every game so far. Just skipping the second gate and going to this sort of speed run to mech toss with Archons. Down goes the Overlord, but Serral, of course, already has multiple Overlords in production to replace. Can be building up, knows about the base, but so far we haven't seen any inclination of going all in. Like some sort. We've seen the Korean Zerg players much more focused. Dark, Rogue, Shin have all been incredibly focused on ending the game well before you can even think about going Mothership. And if we get to Mothership, well, that's probably game over, man. But Serral still working off the later game Zerg style. If I can get 80 drones and 4 bases, I should be able to deal with anything. And so far, he's been technically accurate, but practically it seems difficult. As Mana comes up with the same build for the 3rd time in a row. And, well, Brenda, seen any good movies lately? I watched you die to a mothership that other game. That was pretty good. Well, that... How are we supposed to even deal with it? They're unyoinkable. I don't think that's a real term. Don't be pedantic! This is just petty. You could come up with anything better for this bit, Brenda. Some days. Some days. Sorry. I blacked out for a moment. Archon drop on the way. The queens are gathering. But the Archons are just wading through it. The Royal Road, if you would. And, well, no one died, but everybody's unhappy. Which, you know, quite diplomatic of everyone here. Storm and a second Robo on the way. Mana, just skipping units, pretty much. He's got 2 Archons and a Prism. He's like, that's all I need. If he loses this Prism, or if he loses even one of the Archons, I feel like then Serral just goes across the map and kills him. But right now, this Archon drop is keeping Serral completely pinned back. He's only got a handful of units. I think Zerglings on the other side. The Roaches, he's getting Roach speed. So, definitely more invested. Oracle, wow. Oracle Observer combo. The 2 fragile detectors working together. Bit of a friendly competition there. As the Zerglings actually chewing through a couple of the gateways that Mana's trying to put up as a wall. And Serral, it appears Serral is interested in doing that layer tech timing. He does not have an infestation pit. Oh, he's going for drops. Operation Overlord to invade the main base of the Protoss. 10 Hydras on the way. No infestation pit in production. Overlord speed now completing. Psystorm might be done. But Mana unlikely to have very much in the way of defenses in his main. We will see if he can catch Mana entirely off guard. 2 Immortals at a time. A hard-hitting composition, but Hydras and Lings are still quite effective against them, as we've seen multiple times in this series. You really need the Archons, the Templar to back them up, as on their own they get picked apart, surrounded easily. Serral setting up for the massive drop. You can see the blob on the mini-map moving in. Those are Overlords all over there. 4 Dropper Lords on the way. Mana holding the line for now. There's absolutely no vision of the edge of the main, but I think he's predicting this quite well. He's got cannons coming in. The Roaches and Hydras can re-angle towards that direction. There's no wall right now. The Storms now coating the Hydras and Roaches at the front line. There's not that many units in total. Another set of Storms trying to snipe off the Templar. Takes out a couple more. A lot of Roaches thinned out by the Storms, though. The massive drop to the main, though. A drop of doom. That's going to be 7-8 Overlords filled with Hydras, Lings, and Roaches. But Mana seems to have his defenses. If only he had some Templar. He doesn't have charge. Oh, no. Without charge, it makes it a lot harder for the Zealots to be an effective defense. They're mostly just a meat shield, an HP bar at that point. But who hasn't felt like that in their lives? A couple of the Overlords taken out by the Storms. Choppy waters right now in the center. Serral at 180 to 130 supply. The Hydras and Roaches tearing down this wall. Down goes the Cybercore and one of the Robos. But mana so far, a solid defense, and Serral seems to be thinking about the next step here. He got the infestation pit. He's got a lurker down in a hive on the way. So he realizes he's facing down diminishing returns, as these storms will be ready in the main, and at the natural, and at the third. And lurkers are possibly the only way to cut through to it. I love mana using the Warp Prism as a storm drop like it's PvT. Oracle wades in. Serral with quite a good spread here. There's just not that many units to thin this out. That's the downside of not having Blink Stalkers, is you don't have too many units that can take out medium-sized groups of units. Meanwhile, the main base was abandoned by mana, but in comes the drop from Serral. Mana with no defenses here. Wading through even more storms. Immortals and Archons on their way back. The Templar, another Archon's taken down, but mana's just being whittled down. Hydras and Roaches just go straight for the robotics facility. The charge slots, better late than never, but only by a bit. Not sure how long on energy recharge. I assume he's using it, yeah, pretty much on cooldown. But Serral has opened up quite a supply lead. 120 to 200. And now there's lurker range on the way. Burrow's about to complete. No, I'm not sure what he's going to use that one for. Can just drop some things in the main and make it that much harder to dislodge them. But here comes Serral. A 270-degree surround. There's not enough energy on the Templar. Storms come in from the north. But the Hydras are everywhere else. The Immortals encompassed and eclipsed as Serral strikes back. 2-1. Mana showing an inspired style of Protoss, and then he showed it 2 more times, and that was enough for Serral to adapt. But still, well, I think we'll see a bit more of Serral trying those mid-game. I think the Korean Zergs have the right of it with the mid-game Hydra Roach timings. Just doing whatever you can. You have to stop them before they get 4 bases. If they get 4 bases, they have too much gas. They can power so much tech. And there is almost no Zerg composition that can really deal with it. That's where we are right now, at least from the matches I've seen. And Serral, wow. The units lost up. Just looking at the spread of things lost is the most amusing part. But mana, he's worked it out. And honestly, I think the, somewhat puns intended, the new mana-based ability is very helpful to his sort of playstyle. He's always been a big fan of the Archon drops and those early Warp Prism plays. So I look forward to seeing more. And hopefully Serral will continue to adapt and educate us on how to actually deal with the SkyToss composition. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you to the LiuLiu Cup as well for sending out the games and, of course, putting on the tournament. So hope it made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome. Check out Patreon. Got so much support lately that I had to reformat the whole thing. And work in progress. Jimmy's gonna toy around with some different ideas. But thank you to our mules for bringing in the most minerals. Big Jiggy, Dork K, Mario. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.